Patrick Adams, he did Push in the Bush, which was a pretty big record, disco record back in the days, and he was a great engineer, man. He was doing Eric B and Rakim stuff. He was doing stuff at Power Play, my albums, a bunch of people stuff. Patrick Adams is probably one of the most brilliant sound shapers, engineers, whatever you want to call them, I've ever worked with. You know what I mean? Because he understood that not only was he talented as a musician, but he was also talented at creating the sound that you wanted and carving it out. Really, you know what I'm saying? Really making it sound real and real, making it sound full and good. And he was very meticulous about how he did it, almost effortlessly though. You dig? He taught me how to use the MPC 60, the Oberheim, and a bunch of other things. The SSL board. He was always schooling me on that stuff. Him, a gentleman by the name of Chris Conway, was another one that I really studied a lot of stuff. Like his mix game was sick. The way his approach to recording was really good. You know what I mean? He has a great vision for how to record yourself. Doc Rodriguez is another one. His ability to mix hip hop, man, his drums and then just fire. Like and just to see him moving around in there is magical, you know. And I think the king that I see as the king was Herb Powers. Herb Powers is like music's God to me. You know what I mean? Because artists make songs, but engineers make records. And this guy was a master. He mastered damn near everything through the 90s and some of the 80s and a bunch of other stuff. If you look at his name, you see Master Herb Powers Studios. I used to pay extra money to stay in my mastering sessions just so I could watch him work. Because I knew 20 years from when I was doing that, I was still going to be trying to make music, but I wasn't sure if he was still going to be doing business in that place or where he might be. So I wanted to know then what I would need in 20 years to still be making music. So not only just studying how I never really studied past like how people rapped and all that stuff. That I did that when Melly Mel and Kaz and all them cats was around, and I was a youngster looking up to that. After I got it down, I didn't study nothing else lyrical no more. I had my own direction, but I always studied the ability to make the music sound good. Some stuff don't have to be perfect, and you know, I understood compressions and EQs and all this geek talk that me and a bunch of my friends do when we in the studio on these chats live talking. That guy right there, those four gentlemen that I mentioned, I think it was four, right? Those guys that I mentioned right there those are my four kings right there. Because I came in at a time when they were using like big consoles and 2-inch tapes and stuff like that. You know, I was a fader guy. I loved to be able to move faders and raise them. And, you know, we always were hands-on when it came to production. And then when things started going to the computers, I never forget it. My first Pro Tools system was a PCI slot card that went in the back of a Mac Performer that I had. You know, and I was trying to get used to this. I was a plug and play producer, you know, plug out a turntable into the recording, and, you know, we were doing that. But then it started to change. So you just have to follow the lesson. And the lesson is to study what's coming next. So I started following the lesson because I gotta make music. I have to be able to make music. You know, even mechanics walk around with their tools. I say it again, I had to be able to make music. I didn't want to be able to depend on somebody saying, oh, my studio's closed today, or if somebody got one in their house, they're saying, yo, my wife is mad today, I can't have nobody in the studio. You know what I mean? So I was inspired by Mark 45 King. First time I went to his house and I saw his place, I was like, yo, this dude got the crazy studio. You know what I mean? It was nuts. And then I think I saw Marley Marl's studio later on, which I was very impressed with. So I'm always interested in that kind of stuff, you know? I've been a ghostwriter for a long time. I've always written rhymes for people and stuff like that. I think what's corny to me, what sucks, is when people start throwing in their false belief that their opinion really matters on where the game goes and what it does. You know what I mean? That's bullshit to me. I think, you know, people looking down on ghostwriting is, you know, it's almost as stupid as you saying, oh, somebody else made this jacket for me, or somebody else makes my clothes, or somebody else cuts my hair. You know, just because you don't know how to do something for yourself don't mean that you can't get somebody else to do it. Like that's bullshit. And if somebody has something, hey, listen, there's some ugly motherfuckers that rap. and maybe somebody better looking is better for the suit for the job. So write the rhymes. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're a good rapper and you're not really a person that like to be out front like that. What's wrong with that person writing for somebody else and making his music work through another artist? It's been happening for years. Look at Gamble and Huff. A-list producers, dog. A+ list producers. You dig what I'm saying? How many Gamble and Huff concerts have you been to that you've seen them on stage rocking? But I bet you their music has played on for lifetimes. It'll play. You dig what I'm saying? So hip hop is always pigeonholed to whoever's opinion is popping at the time. You dig what I'm saying? But to me, once you escape that, once you know how to evade that persona of having to let somebody else tell you how, if you're good or bad, that's not until then. Once you get past that, then you're a free person. You're a free artist, creatively free and everything else. So you have to not let that be a big deal. Like, you know, you was talking earlier about people not knowing about their history, not knowing about the history of the culture and all that kind of stuff. You know, the sad part about that is a lot of people don't even know the history of who they are as people, which helps you to understand your culture musically, you know, what any kind of artistic, you know, it's part of it. We all have a culture, you know what I mean? There's stuff there's people that I've met because of hip hop that my parents would have never had a conversation with their parents. They have nothing to talk about. But because of hip hop music, I've been able to meet people and, you know, rock with different cultures. Man, when I went to London was an experience. That was a super dope experience. Being in Holland was an experience. In Tokyo, Japan was a fucking experience, bro. And you cannot rush that experience, and you should never allow yourself to be blocked or bogged down by somebody else's opinion of who you are. That's the biggest crock of bullshit ever. So no, hell no. Hip hop is bigger than that. And then you as an artist owe it to the game to keep it that way. You know, there's no gatekeepers no more. We know that already. So anybody can tell you who they are, and next thing you know, boom. But none of this shit, all these shows and talk shows and all this shit has nothing to do with the culture if ain't no new music being made. And if you complaining about hip hop ain't out there no more, you either not listening to a vast amount of music or you shut the fuck up and go in the studio and make something. That's how I feel about that.